NSCHQ, 1 Mile Portsmouth, the 5th annual Carnival Whopwell at the factory on Valley Road. Bang time 10 p.m. Sort out yourself and see you there. This event is sponsored by Swapitalk, Coca-Cola, Heineken, Danger Entertainment Rental, NSC High Tech Group of Company, Carry FM, Allen Sound, Black Star Freight Services.
Let Instacash help you get the kids ready for school with the DNL Back to School Instacash promotion. For every Instacash ticket purchased, your ticket could say you've won cash, you've won groceries, or you've won school supplies instantly. One lucky customer will win $5,000. Promotion runs from August 8th to the 11th of September 2025. Instacash tickets are available from all lottery agents island-wide. It's fast, it's easy, and you win instantly.
Instacash, let me play.
Let Instacash help you get the kids ready for school with the DNL Back to School Instacash promotion. For every Instacash ticket purchased, your ticket could say you've won cash, you've won groceries, or you've won school supplies instantly. One lucky customer will win $5,000. Promotion runs from August 8th to the 11th of September 2025. Instacash tickets are available from all lottery agents island-wide.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Emonews studio, and we are so happy and excited to be here this evening with one of our 2026 Queen contestant, Miss Daina Graneau, and she's coming all the way from the Kalinago territory. So where are our Kalinagos? Call them out, share the live, tag a friend, because this afternoon, this evening, we are going to be having a panel discussion right here, and we have some beautiful ladies. Welcome, everyone. Nice. Welcome to Emonews studio. So we're going to hand the mic to Miss Graneau, and she will tell us all about this panel discussion.
So good evening to the viewers of Emonews, Dominica festivals, pageant enthusiasts, supporters, potential sponsors, and Team Daina. I would like to apologize for the late start. However, thank you for tuning in and for joining us. My name is Daina Graneau. I am 23 years of age, and I am representing Atkinson and the Kalinago territory in the Miss Dominica 2026 National Queen Pageant, carded for the 12th of February 2026. And I am honored to serve as your hostess this evening. My platform is titled The Hidden Victims, a commitment to protecting children in violent homes. I chose to highlight the hidden victims because many times when we speak about intimate partner violence, we tend to focus on the victims who are directly affected, which would be the parents. But what about the children, the ones who are indirectly affected? They are the ones who suffer in silence, and their pain is often unheard of, unseen, and unrecognized. Because of this, I felt that it is my calling to advocate for the hidden victims, the ones who are voiceless. This is why discussions like this are important, because it shines a light on the realities of intimate partner violence, to explore how it affects not just the adults, but the children, and how we can share our guidance, resources, and support for families who are struggling with this issue. What is intimate partner violence, you may ask? Intimate partner violence refers to the abuse between current or former romantic relationships, regardless whether they live together. Here tonight, I am joined by three exceptional young women who have had the opportunities to interact with the direct and indirect victims where my platform is concerned. Firstly, we have beside me Miss Maureen Valmont. Welcome. Miss Maureen Valmont is a proud descendant of the indigenous Kalinago community in Dominica. She is a proud mother. She received a Bachelor of Science, first class honors in social work, and she holds an EMBA and a master's in project management. She is a staunch advocate for child protection rights. She loves reading and listening to soulful music. She is a big supporter of the West Indies cricket team, even if they tend to break her heart often. Alongside Miss Maureen Valmont, we have Miss Anya Gage. Anya Gage is a dedicated social service professional and community advocate from the close-knit village of Antrizal, located in Atkinson, Dominica. She is committed to empowering children and youth, fostering positive growth, and advocating for stronger, healthier communities. Anya began her tertiary academic journey at the Dominica State College, where she earned an associate's degree in sociology in 2010. Driven by a passion for human services and community development, she pursued further studies at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus in Barbados. There, she successfully completed a bachelor's degree in social work and was honored with the prestigious Fumi Liao, correct me if I'm wrong, Fun Award for Academic Excellence in Social Work. Her professional experience reflects her strong dedication to youth empowerment and social change. She served as a project officer with the Create Caribbean Research Institute and later as a bullying prevention coordinator at Supreme Counseling for Personal Development in Barbados. Above all her accomplishments, Anya is a proud mother to her 4-year-old son, who inspires her daily to contribute to creating a safer, more promising future for the next generation. With a strong belief in the power of encouragement and positive influence, Anya continues to dedicate her life to helping young people make informed decisions, build resilience, and unlock their full potential. The next panelist we have is Mrs. Delia Coffee Weeks. Welcome, Mrs. Weeks.
Thank you.
Mrs. Weeks is an experienced professional, skilled highly in sustainable development, communication, rural development, natural resource management, and international relations. Mrs. Coffee Weeks holds a Bachelor of Science in Social Work from the University of the West Indies, Open Campus. She has demonstrated history of working in the information services industry. She is trained as an agriculturist, but also as an advocate for vulnerable groups, including women and girls, youth, the elderly, persons with disabilities. And as a motivational speaker, she provides support for people affected by cancer and victims and survivors of violence and abuse. Mrs. Coffee Weeks is also a queer language enthusiast. So here we have it, our 3 panelists for tonight, Ms. Maureen Valmont, Ms. Anya Gage, and Mrs. Weeks. Now, we will begin with our first panelist, Ms. Maureen Valmont, and each panelist has a key area which they will focus on for tonight, and Ms. Maureen Valmont, her key area is recognizing when someone is experiencing intimate partner violence, including subtle or overlooked indicators. Ms. Valmont, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Miss Daina. Good evening to Dominica. Good evening to those here supporting us in studio. Before I continue, I must express appreciation to Miss Daina Graneau, contestant number 5, representing Antrizal, Jean-Bois, Atkinson, and the Kalinago territory in the 2026 Carnival pageant. Thank you very much, Daina, for inviting me to be a panelist alongside these 2 powerhouses here. As way of introduction, I am Maureen Valmont, as you rightly said, because sometimes I call myself Kahina Abayatara as well. I'm a social worker by profession, but I am a social activist by choice. In terms of my competence on this topic, I have 20 years experience working with families and children. And during those years, I have had the opportunity to experience and walk alongside children who have faced unimaginable trauma. And this is precisely, though, the experience that has reinforced that commitment within me to continue to advocate for child protection. And it is also because I have seen the ripple effects of adverse childhood experiences, especially from families that are violent on the children, that 1, the lost potential, two, the broken or fragmented relationships, and three, which is one of the most important ones, the mental health challenges and the lifelong challenges with substance abuse. And equally, I have seen the difference in early intervention with the Roving Caregivers Program as one of the flagship programs in the Kadinago territory, which focused heavily on early intervention, support, and protection. And as a teenage mother myself, I have had my own share of challenges, being a mother of two, being a parent to my niece and nephews. I may not necessarily have had the parenting tools required for parenting at that age. However, due to the exposure and training, Dana, I was able to adapt and adopt as well new and best parenting practices. So before I continue, I also want to say that your theme is most relevant for our children because our parents and our children are the hidden victims, especially seeing that they are silenced by fear, shame, and the complexities of their circumstances. I think this is something we really need to focus on. And they are the ones who wake up every morning wondering if today is going to be a good day or if today is going to be a terrible day. And they are also the ones forced to navigate the treacherous landscape of violence that they so often are not offered that safe haven to deal with. Okay. So domestic violence, whenever I speak about domestic violence or intimate partner violence, I always emphasize that it transcends socioeconomic boundaries, meaning that in the layman term, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, if you are working class or unemployed, if you have a master's degree, a PhD, or if you dropped out of primary school or high school. It happens to every sector, every status, every strata of society. And one of the misconceptions that we had previously is that intimate partner violence happened only in poor families or low-income backgrounds. However, recent research has shown that this is completely false. As I would have said before, it transcends socioeconomic statuses. So, Dana, one of the things that one of the studies that I read before I came in was a study done in the US that showed that 4 out of 10 women who worked or were engaged or get that gainful employment and their salaries was about $75,000, they experience intimate partner violence. When you look at the UK, there was a recent study that showed that 5 out of every 10 women who held managerial positions, and they were part of a study, showed that they were also victims of intimate partner violence, showing that it doesn't necessarily mean that because you have a PhD, because you are, quote unquote, as we would say in Dominica, well off, that you are not going to be placed in that kind of situation. In the Caribbean, domestic violence remains a pervasive issue with far-reaching consequences for our children, as you rightly said earlier. According to the UN Women, there's 46%, almost 50%, almost 5 in every 10 women have experienced one form of violence. That's really alarming. In Guyana, we have 55% of women experiencing violence, while in Jamaica, it remains the second highest rate of femicide in the world. And you can do your research to support that as well, the listeners. And in the OECS, data shows that 27 to 40% of women reported experiencing violence at the hands of their partners. And in the Caribbean, in Dominica rather, although we do not have that data, and I am sure Gage will agree with me, we may not necessarily have that strong data that shows where the strata of violence occurs. We working with families and communities, we know that although we may think that intimate partner violence happens only in certain communities, in certain groups, we are now hearing more than ever violence happening in our working class. The police officers, the nurses, the teachers, those who have their PhDs. And this just shows and strengthens the assumption, it strengthens the point that intimate violence doesn't necessarily happen only to a selected group. And that's a misconception. I think that's one of the first things that we have to address and remove from our heads, the barrier and the bias that, no, it's not happening to me, it's happening to them, it's happening to the poor people. No, it happens across the board. Therefore, recognizing the signs of domestic violence is crucial. And it's not just about the physical abuse, the abuse that you can see, the black eye, the marks on your body. It's not just this. I have worked with families where abuse has been hidden behind closed doors. And it's only when we have done our social assessment that we have seen the extent of abuse that has happened, and most of it deals with control and manipulation. Also, along with the physical abuse, we have emotional, financial, and I'll come to this very soon, and psychological abuse, Dana. And you might notice some changes in the parents. What are some of the changes that we are going to notice? One, increasingly becoming withdrawn. So you're accustomed of going with your friends. No longer do you want to go with your friends. You decide, okay, I don't want to go again. I can't go. Also, anxiousness, hypervigilance. So you don't want him to see that you are speaking to Kahina Abayatara. You don't want him to see that you're speaking to Anya Gage. And then you have another one, which is where the partner now isolates the other partner from the relatives and friends. So here you come, I don't want you to go to Kahina Abayatara because she will expose our business. And gradually they keep you and they isolate you, where you have no support system, you have no friends, you have no family close to you. So even when you experience this, you're unable to share it with anyone. We go on to financial abuse, and we have situations where partners control all of the finances. So he works, or even if they both work, he's the one or she's the one who controls all of the finances. Therefore, they make those decisions. So if you need something, you have to go and ask. So I need some money for a pad. I need some money for food. Or they would give you $500, for example, and say, hey, this is for food. I need you to manage the bills. I need to take care of the refreshments for the children. And this is it, even if some of the partners, both partners are working. So this is financial abuse. And I need to say that when financial abuse plays in to all of this situation, it becomes even more difficult for the partner to leave. So imagine you have a joint account, you have a mortgage, and he controls the money. If you decide you want to leave, now you're going to start thinking, if I leave, I don't have a house. I don't have control of the account. If I leave, and worst of all, if you are unemployed, where am I going to live? Who is going to support me? All of this comes into play. So sometimes we argue and we say, well, why do they just get up and leave? That's the question I think we all ask sometimes. Why don't they just get up and leave? It must be very easy to just, she liked the blows. That's why she's just here. Well, she said she's going to leave and she just insists on staying. So she likes it, so she can stay. We have to think of how the victim thinks all over again. If I have 2 children already, am I going to go back home? And home where I don't have my privacy, home where I have to start all over again, home where persons in the communities, and we live in small communities where everybody know everybody's business. So imagine if you have left home for a while, and because of this violence, you decide to go back home. All of a sudden, they're going to be asking, why has Kahina Abayatara returned home? I heard it's because of that. And then you come with the humiliation and the shame and the embarrassment that comes with it. And imagine now parents who are trapped in those relationships, Miss Graneau, the children in the midst of that. So if you can imagine the trauma on the partner, the woman or the man, the partner, imagine a child growing up in an environment where the home environment is toxic, it's constant violence, it's constant cursing, it's constant bullying, emotional abuse, trauma, all of that. These children grow up walking on eggshells, wondering, when is dad, when is mom when is there going to be another outburst? And how am I going to deal with that? So here we come with the impact again on the child itself. And I am sure Ms. Gage will go over all of the impact of the children. I think that's where she's going to focus on. But then just to just give you a brief outlook. One, we have anxiety in the children, behavioral problems such as aggression, withdrawal, difficulties in forming relationships and trusting. Because if dad is the one who loves me and he says that he loves me, how am I going to be able to trust anyone else? If mommy says that she loves me and she's the one who hurts me, how am I going to be able to build trust in relationships? How am I going to do that? And then we also have poor academic performance. And we have shame and guilt, and this one I want to focus on is substance abuse and mental health issues later on in life. And I would have worked at the acute psychiatric unit very briefly, and one of the things that I realized, and it was supported recently, is that majority of the young people, after doing the social assessment, we saw that there was a linkage to familiar conflict. Majority of them who have mental health challenges. And even more alarming, in June this year, I think it was the 25th of June this year, we had Dr. Nadia Wally stating that every week there were 7 attempted suicides. And this links, I believe very strongly, back to the familiar conflict, lack of support at home, the issues that are at home, and you cannot find that support you need and require. And hence we have, just for a population of 60,000, we have 7 attempted suicides every year. Every week. Did I say every year? Yes. It's not every week, not every year, every week. So this is alarming. So, Daina, I am sure I could have elaborated a lot more. Although I have a script, I tend not to just follow the script. I wanted to speak out, where it's more genuine and authentic. And now I hand over to Miss Anya Gage. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Valmont. And it's very alarming, all the statistics which you have provided. Because I myself, doing my research, there are a lot of alarming information I come across, and it just goes to show that the children do suffer and the parents as well suffer, and we have to take it into consideration and have empathy for the parents themselves. And before we move on to the next panelist, we will take a short minute break so we can recoup, and then we will be back.
MSC and Danger Entertainment, in association with Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, present the 5th annual Carnival Wop World at the Factory on Valley Road, starring Alto Guadeloupe, 1T1.
Yves, come inside. Leave me alone. I don't want no children.
1T1.
My money is my best friend. My drink is my best friend.
1T1.
What's up? She said, hey, that's on my left.
Altercation Kingston, Jamaica, Da Vinci.
That make them wither away, because you know they ain't a match for me.
Da Vinci.
Just one for me, one for me.
Da Vinci.
Me just get the remedy for the pain on them. Me just get the remedy.
Buddhas. Real, TK International, Ridge, DJ MJ, and MV on the keys. Unstoppable DJ, DJ 5.0, Sinker Supreme, Danger Dane, DJ Spawner, DJ Shan, and DJ Pocket. Tier 1 tickets are only $100, $120 for Tier 2, $130 at the gate. VIP Early Bird, $300, $350 regular. VIP Ultra, $450. All VIP sections are all inclusive. Tickets are available at DPEG, Bullseye, Go Fresh, Hughes Barbershop, NSCHQ, 1 Mile Portsmouth. The 5th annual Carnival Wopwell at the factory on Valley Road. Bang time 10 p.m. Sort out yourself and see you there. This event is sponsored by Swapital, Coca-Cola, Heineken, Danger Entertainment Rental, NSC High Tech Group of Company, Carry FM, Allen Sound, Black Star Freight Services.
Let Instacash help you get the kids ready for school with the DNL Back to School Instacash promotion. For every Instacash ticket purchase, your ticket could say you've won cash,
Oh, really?
you've won groceries, or you've won school supplies instantly. One lucky customer will win $5,000.
I need
Promotion
that.
runs from August 8th to the 11th of September 2025. Instacash tickets are available from all lottery agents island-wide. It's fast, it's easy, and you win instantly.
Instacash, let me play.
Welcome back to the panel discussion. And for those of you who are joining, right now, my name is Daina Graneau, contestant number 5 in the Miss Dominica 2026 National Queen Pageant. I am representing the communities of Kingston and the Kalinago territory. And here we have 3 panelists who will be speaking or sharing the expertise on my platform. And before I move on to the next speaker, the next panelist, I would like to inform the listening audience, if you have any questions you would like to pose to the panelists, you can do so by submitting them into the chat and we will read them out. And to the panelists as well, if you have any questions you would like to ask to each other, you can do so as well toward the end of this discussion. Right now, we have Anya Gage, and her key focus right now would be about identifying the unusual or concerning behaviors in children who are affected by violence in the home. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. My name is Anya Gage, and it is truly an honor to be part of this meaningful discussion. So I really want to thank Ms. Graneau for having me this evening.
You're most welcome.
The discussion is one that speaks to the safety, healing, and the future of our children, which is very important. And I'm glad that I get to speak on identifying unusual or concerning behaviors in children who have experienced domestic violence and what we as a community and as professionals can do to help them navigate that trauma. Now, this discussion is not only relevant but necessary, and I must applaud you for choosing this platform.
Thank you.
Because this is something that really needs to be discussed. Now, when we talk about domestic violence, we usually picture the adult victims, but children, whether they are not the direct victims or whether they are witnesses, they carry the emotional wounds that may not be immediately visible. Their pain often speaks through their behavior, and if we are not paying attention, we may miss the quiet signals that they are giving us every day. So let's look at identifying the concerning behaviors. Now, it is easier to identify whether a child is being physically abused. You know, you see the scars, the bruises, or them trying to conceal all of that. But what happens when they are not the direct victims? And we can see that the impact manifests through their behavior. Now, we as caregivers, teachers, community members, and service providers need to be alert about the following signs. Now, what I'm going to mention this evening, it is just a few of the signs. There are many, many signs, but due to time constraints, I will just mention a few. Now we can see changes in emotional expression. Some children become withdrawn, like Miss Valma would have mentioned earlier. They are unusually quiet or fearful. Others may appear jumpy or overly alert as though they are anticipating danger. Because remember, when you are living in a domestic violence household, you would find that there are things that are always happening that has them in fight or flight mode. So you would always find that they're overly alert. You may often notice sudden crying spells, clinginess, or also emotional numbness. Let's look at behavioral shifts. You might observe aggression, acting out in school, defiance, or frequent fights with peers. And Ms. Valma would have also mentioned that, and we find that in our teenagers, when there is domestic violence in the home, you find them participating in some risky behaviors. So you will find them partaking in substance abuse, smoking, drinking alcohol, and sometimes they are so defiant that they end up going before the court, because they may be committing offenses. And even as a probation officer, we see that quite often in my job. Also, we need to look at the children who are involved in that behavior as not bad children, but that they're going through something, but they are unable to communicate it properly. So all of that we have to keep in mind, that they do not know how to express their feelings in a proper way, and they hold all of that in, and then you can see all of that manifested through their behaviors. So it's basically them saying that I am overwhelmed and I don't have the words. Now we look at regression. Children in preschool or young children who witness domestic violence may revert to earlier behaviors. So we're looking at preschool age. So such behaviors such as bedwetting, thumb sucking, increased crying and whining. They may also develop difficulty falling or staying asleep. They may show signs of terror, stuttering, or hiding. And in some cases, they show severe separation anxiety. And separation anxiety is something that is normal in development. However, when children are in violent homes, you can see that they may develop separation anxiety disorder, which is characterized by intense distress, constant worry, clinginess, so anxiety. I mean, even us as adults, we get anxious. I must say, even this evening, I was feeling anxious. And just to see how this manifests as adults, we go through this and sometimes we don't even know how to manage it. And then you have children who are not fully developed. They don't have the experiences that we have, and they have to go through that, and they do not know how to manage what they are going through. And if not addressed, it can lead to panic attacks, phobias, depression, and like Ms. Valma would have mentioned, in Dominica, it is recorded that we have suicide, suicidal attempts, 7 suicidal attempts every week, and this is quite alarming. So you can see that we have children in Dominica; they are going through a lot, And that's the thing, because sometimes when adults speak, they may say that, what stress could a child have? You know, they have all their meals provided for them. They do not have to work. They do not have to think about a bill. So what is making them stressed? But we have to keep in mind that at each stage in our development, there's certain things that we try to manage, certain things that we go through, and it's a learning process. So yes, children can become depressed, they can be stressed, and this can lead to suicidal ideation and attempts if it is not dealt with. Even older children may experience academic decline or difficulty concentrating as the brain is under stress and struggles to learn. Even us as adults in the workplace, let's say there is something that is bothering our mind, or we're stressed out about a certain situation, and it is very hard to concentrate on what we are doing. It's very hard to focus. So, and like I said, we here, we are professionals, and we go through that, we experience that. So imagine a young mind not being able to navigate through that, what they're experiencing. We have also physical and somatic complaints. So it's psychosomatic. Somatic complaints are real physical symptoms that arise from psychological distress, headaches, stomach pains, nausea, sleep disturbances often occur when the child is living in ongoing fear and anxiety. And these symptoms may not have a clear medical cause, but they are real and they do experience it. Then we have social withdrawal or peer related issues. So you find that when a child comes from a home that is plagued with domestic violence, they isolate themselves. So some may, if they may have a big friend group, or they may like sports or certain activities, yet they no longer want to be engaged in those activities. They do not want to be around their friends anymore. So these are certain things that we have to look at. Like, why the change? Why is this thing happening? You know, we need to really look into it and ask a question. Find out what is really going on. Also, while some may isolate themselves, some may attach quickly to adults, seeking safety and reassurance. What they lack at home, they try to get it somewhere else. And hopefully, in that case, they are attaching themselves to someone who is a good person, someone who is a positive role model, someone who actually cares for them, because sometimes there are a lot of deceitful people out there who say that they are there to help, but that's not necessarily the case. So even those things, that children are very vulnerable in situations like that, because what they can't get at home, they try to get it somewhere else. Now we need to, and it is important to note as well, some, we may be looking at the signs, and sometimes there are no signs. And it's very interesting, but in rare cases, you may not, that child or children may not show any sort of behavior, any type of behavior. And maybe it's a case, yes, it's abnormal behavior. And we can see that this happens sometimes. I mentioned earlier that they experience numbness to the situation. Because, I mean, especially if they grew up in a home where domestic violence is a normal thing. So if they don't see it or feel like it's something wrong, how is it going to affect them? You know, it is affecting them, but they are not aware that it is affecting them in a negative way. So this is something that we need to look at. So sometimes we need to check in emotionally, because they may not show the signs, but sometimes when you have a conversation with them, it's something completely different going on in the background. So We need to understand the meaning behind the behavior. It is vital to remember that trauma affects the developing brain. Children do not just misbehave for the sake of misbehaving. It is also always them responding to the environment, whether when they feel unsafe, if the environment is unpredictable, if it is frightening. When a child has witnessed yelling, threats, or physical harm, their survival instincts become heightened. What looks as aggression might be hypervigilance. What looks as like defiance might be fear. So this is all of the things that we need to consider. Now, how can we help them? How do we respond? We need to educate the public and create awareness in communities because, especially in the Caribbean, with certain situations, they see it as, oh, you know what, that is family business. That is not that's not my problem. That's my neighbor's problem. But then we have to keep in mind that it may not be your problem now, but it will become your problem later, you know? So all these things that we need to look at. We each and every one of us plays a part. So we need to have these conversations in schools. We need to teach our children about the signs of domestic violence and their rights as children. A lot of children in Dominica need to know their rights, and we need to do more in putting that information out there so that they can act accordingly. They need to know who they can reach out to share information like posters, health centers, resource centers. Right now, we have many resource centers around the island and our state-of-the-art health centers. So we need to ensure that we provide that information to the community, and also the hotlines, providing the hotlines, the numbers for those individuals who need help. Now, children heal through relationships, predictability, and safety. Every adult in their world plays a role. So, what are some of the roles that they need to carry out? So, they need to create safe, stable, and predictable environments, because we find that with domestic violence, it often creates chaos and unpredictability. So children feel more secure when they have daily routines, such as meal times and bedtimes, which are consistent. Also creating boundaries. Children understand what to expect, which helps rebuild a sense of stability. Every child needs stability in a home. Teachers can establish consistent routines in the classroom, and community members can offer safe spaces where children feel welcome, respected, and seen. A predictable environment tells a child's nervous system, you are safe here. We also need to respond with empathy, not punishment. Instead of asking, what's wrong with you, which we always do, even to our own children, we need to ask, what happened to you? So the shift in language changes everything. We need to move away from blame into understanding what is causing that behavior. Instead of um, coming down on that child or that teenager, and then they shut down and then they no longer want to speak to you. So these are things that we need to look at. We need to encourage healthy expression of emotions. Now, children who experience domestic violence, they suppress their feelings. But we need to create a platform for them to express their feelings, to create a safe space where they can speak out and not feel judged. So this is something we need to do. We need to strengthen community partnerships. No one agency can do it. So it's not Lifeline Ministries by itself. It's not the Department of Social Services by itself. Each and every one of us has a role to play. Miss Valmore here, Mrs. Weeks here. Each and every one of us has a role to play. We need to also promote strength in strengthening community partnerships, we need to have counselors or professionals to provide that emotional support. We also need to promote positive adult-child relationships. If they cannot get that positive adult-child relationship at home, then we need to create something within the community. What about a big brother, big sister program? These are things that we need to look into, where we find positive role models who a child can really open up to, speak to about their feelings, and to see how we can help them to navigate the stresses of life. Also, we need to help the parents. We need to educate them, and it's not only educating or helping the parent who is being abused, but also the abuser. Sometimes we never think about the abuser, and a lot of times it's because of family conflicts that they end up in that situation, because some of the children who are going through this abuse, domestic violence, they do not get the help, and they in return become abusers in the future. So we also it's a cycle, and we need to address that, helping both the person who is being abused and the abuser. Anyway, due to time, I will stop right here.
Thank you. I wish you could have spoken a little longer. You really had me reeled in. Okay, I'm very pleased about the Big Brother, Big Sister program, which you have mentioned. And
Yes.
I believe that is something that we can implement in our communities.
Yes.
Because sometimes when the parents fail the children at home, that's the whole definition of it takes a village to raise a child. So we as residents in our communities can step up and be that perfect role model for these children.
Yes.
So thank you so much for that, Miss Gage. And right about now, we're going to take a short break again.
NSC and Danger Entertainment, in association with Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, presents the 5th annual Carnival Pop World at the Factory on Valley Road, starring Alto Guadeloupe, 1T1,
Nivea, come inside. Leave me alone. I don't want no children.
1T1,
Money is my best friend. My drink is my best friend.
1T1,
She said, hey, that's on my left.
Alta Kingston, Jamaica, Da Vinci,
Jaja make them wither the way, because they know they ain't a match for me.
Da Vinci,
Just one for me, one for
Da Vinci,
Me just get the remedy for the pain of them. Me just get the remedy.
Buddhas, Real, TK International, Ridge, DJ MG, LMV on the keys, Unstoppable DJ, DJ 5.0, Sinker Supreme, Danger Dane, DJ Spawner, DJ Shan, and DJ Pocket. Tier 1 tickets are only $100, $120 for Tier 2, $130 at the gate. VIP Early Bird, $300, $350 regular. VIP Ultra, $450. All VIP sections are all inclusive. Tickets are available at D-Bed, Bullseye, Go Fresh, Hughes Barbershop, NSCHQ, 1 Mile Portsmouth. The 5th annual Carnival Wopwell at the Factory on Valley Road. Bang time 10 p.m. Sort out yourself and see you there. This event is sponsored by Swap It All, Coca-Cola, Heineken, Danger Entertainment Rental, NSC High Tech Group of Company, Kyrie FM, Allen Sound, Black Star Freight Services.
Let Instacash help you get the kids ready for school with the DNL Back to School Instacash promotion. For every Instacash ticket purchase, your ticket could say you've won cash,
Oh, really?
you've won groceries, or you've won school supplies instantly. One lucky customer will win $5,000.
I need
Promotion
that.
runs from August 8th to the 11th of September 2025. Instacash tickets are available from all lottery agents island-wide. It's fast, it's easy, and you win instantly.
Instacash, let me play.
Welcome back to the panel discussion on my platform, The Hidden Victims, a commitment to protecting children in violent homes. Previously, our panelist, Ms. Valmon, she spoke about recognizing when someone is experiencing intimate partner violence, including the subtle or overlooked indicators. Ms. Anya Gage, she spoke about identifying the unusual or concerning behaviors in children who are affected by violence in the home and how we as the community can help these children navigate through their traumas. Now, our final speaker, we have Mrs. Wicks, and she will be sharing on how primary victims, the parent, can begin to heal and move forward after leaving an abusive relationship. Mrs. Wicks?
Well, thank you very much for having me here, and I want to congratulate you, Ms. Graneau, on your choice of topic. And this is something that everybody knows we should be talking about it, but nobody wants to do it. And so I'm very happy to be here with my two sisters to really shine a light on this evil. Let me say that this is just a drop in the bucket in terms of what needs to be done. But at least we've started, and every landslide begins with one pebble moving. So we've started that landslide, and let us hope that we can continue with the momentum. Now, earlier on, Ms. Valmont said that sometimes people say, well, she's staying there, she like it. But one of the things that I must tell you is that it is not very easy to leave an abusive relationship. In fact, many women find themselves most at risk right after they have left. We have seen cases in Dominica where when women have decided, I have had enough, that was the time that somebody lost it and either picked up a cylinder or ran them down with a car or something. And sometimes people make decisions, sometimes not even for their own selves. Let us be real. We know many women remain in abusive relationships for their children. You ever wonder why a couple that has been married for so long, as soon as the last child leaves, then the marriage breaks up? And then when you speak to the people, they tell you, oh, we were just together for the children's sake. So yes, mothers especially make some sorts of decisions, not so much for their own benefit, but for that of their children. We have seen situations where women who have had enough either pick up and disappear. And the society that we live in, when that woman runs for her life and she leaves the children behind, then we call her all sorts of names. We do not think that she had a right to leave her children. And the children obviously are going to feel abandoned. There are also women who, when they are going, they want to take their children with them. And many women have left abusive relationships with their children and just the clothes on their back. They don't know where they're going. They don't know where the next meal is coming from. I remember dealing with a woman when she came to me. All of the signs of physical abuse were right there. You didn't need to ask her any questions. And in fact, what I posed to her was, are you a drum? And she looked at me in confusion. And I asked her again, are you a drum? And she looked at me and she was confused. And I said, do you know what is a drum? And she said, yes, ma'am. I said, what do they do to drums? They beat them. I said, are you a drum? She started crying. And she was prepared to remain in that abusive relationship. But when I told her about some of the things that could happen to her children who were witnessing the abuse, that is when it hit home, because she said, "Ma'am, what you saying to me, I am seeing it already." And based on that, she made her decision. She took her children, the clothes on their back, and she moved out. She left everything. She reached out to me after she moved out and she said, "Ma'am, thank you. I slept with my children on a sheet of plywood. We took our clothes to make a mattress, but that is the sweetest sleep I have had in years." Now, living that kind of a relationship is not an easy decision, but it is actually the beginning of your new life. The moment you walked away, you declared to the world, "I deserve better. I deserve peace. I deserve freedom." That act alone proved that you found the courage to do it. Now, having walked away from that abusive relationship, you know that the road is not going to be easy. Because you see, this society we live in, we love to speak about people. Until we are able to walk a few steps in other people's shoes, our society is not going to change. Our communities are very macho. We have one standard for men and one standard for women. So once you've walked away from that relationship, the next thing that begins to set on you is the doubts, the fears. Am I able to start over? I have nothing. Where do I go from here? You look at the scars and they remind you of what you've been through. And sometimes just the peace and quiet that you were looking for, it now becomes a burden. Because in that peace and quiet, in that silence, you are tormented. And the memories, remember there is a song that says, "Memories don't live like people do. They always stay with you." And the one thing I'll tell you is, as human beings, for a lot of women, when their skin is burning because they are being abused, they want to get out. Once they get out and they look at the things that are confronting them, they forget about the pain. And they say, "Yes, he used to beat me, but he was a good provider. He used to make sure we always had food. The bills were always paid. And maybe I should just go back, swallow my pride, and go back, because that is easier than starting all over." But let me tell you, the reason that you're thinking that way is because you've been worked on for a while. Because part of the abuse was the verbal abuse, where sometimes women are told, "No other man wouldn't want you. It's me alone that could pick you up. It's a favor I was doing you." That is not true. If you want to test what I am telling you, take your phone right now, go online, and look up the words of Desiderata. This is something that we've heard all the time and we don't pay much attention to it. It is that simple poem that begins, "Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and know what peace there can be in silence." Most people don't recognize that, but they know that little piece of it where the person sings, "You are a child of the universe. No less than the trees and the stars, you have a right to be here." And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. So healing begins when you begin to feel safe. So you've left the abusive relationship. Maybe you had a nice home where everybody had their own bedroom and every room had a flat screen TV and all of that. So yes, you had made it, especially when you consider that you may have come out of poverty. All of us had to be sleeping in bedding on the floor. And now each of my children have their own room and their own flat screen TV. So yes, I have arrived, but you were not safe. So now you're out and somebody has given you a little logement and you can reach that place where you can sleep through the night and feel safe enough. That is where your healing begins. You need to surround yourself with people and things that make you feel safe, and people and things that help you to honor your dignity. People who have compassion for you, not those who will tell you, oh, but you should have left a long time ago. Yes, I know that, but people who will work with you, they will meet you at the point of your need, and they will not want to investigate all of your business. If you want to assist somebody who is getting out of an abusive relationship, you do not need them to give you a ball by ball of how often he used to beat you or what he used to do. That is not your business. You are out of this. I want to help you. I value your privacy. If you want to tell me, you will tell me, but I'm not going to ask you. And even with all of that, sometimes the hardest judges are we ourselves. We do things, people forgive and forget, but we never forget, and we do not forgive ourselves. And that is why when you get the opportunity, seek counseling. I know for a lot of people, counseling is like a dirty word. And we still believe that, oh, if you go to a counselor, that means that you're crazy, and nobody wants to be crazy. So what? Sometimes insanity is an escape. The only way you can deal with the different things in life is sometimes to escape to that place in your head where you are at peace. Do you know that in terms of counseling, people may say, oh, but the doctors are expensive. You can go to the acute psychiatric unit, that is a government department, to get the help that you need. But people don't want to go there because nobody wants them to say, oh, did I go in there? She crazy. Life is what it is, eh? Now, remember that even when you are trying to help yourself, the communities that we live in, we are not very compassionate people. We do not let people forget. So you've moved out of your 4-bedroom house. You have a little plywood shack that you have to tie the door at night for it not to swing open when the wind blows. And when you walk on the street and you try to keep your head up, people say, look at her. She had her husband, right? And a big house. Look at where she living now, in a Kaipai, in a Jupa. But they don't understand that sometimes you are happier in the Kaipai than in the castle. And remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built anyway. And so you rebuild your life step by step. Every day is not going to be Sunday. And even some Sundays have rain. So some Sundays are not Sundays. But You have to take stock of yourself. Every day you need to analyze where you were and how far you've come. And at that stage of rebuilding your life, every little success counts. So you left and you had just the clothes on your back. Maybe you had a job, but you had no money because you had to leave everything. You were earning a living by making snacks, but because you had to leave in a hurry, not even your cake tins you could take with you. Somebody feels sorry for you. Somebody's compassionate. They give you a couple cake tins. Somebody else says, come to my house and bake your cakes. When you are able to sell that first batch of cakes and you are able to recover what you spent to get your monies to start off again, and you have something left over, that is something to be proud of. That is something to celebrate. So yes, you only had $5 profit, but $5 plus $5 plus $5, you can become a $5 millionaire. Healing is not a straight path. There are days when you will advance. There are days when you will find yourself just standing in one spot. There are days because of your memories and the things happening around you, and sometimes the decisions you have to take because you have children, because you have other relatives who are depending on you, you might take a couple of steps back. But all is not lost. Keep striving to move forward every time that you can. And sometimes cry. Yes, that is what I said. Cry. Because we live in a society where we're not encouraged to speak out. Sometimes you feel like your head is going to burst. You feel like your chest is heavy. And when you go somewhere and you have a good cry, and somebody may be asking you, what you crying for? And you don't even know. But crying is therapeutic. And after you've had a good cry, you get some water, you wash your face, you drink some water, and you regain your strength, and you can start all over. And, you know, when you continue like that, taking those little steps, you look to the people who can assist. For the people who are on the brink and you don't really know how to get out, call the Lifeline helpline. Do you know what that number is? It's easy to remember. 317-3030. 317-3030. We cannot promise that we will do everything for you, but we try our best to assist. The Dominican National Council of Women, without resources, is also there trying to assist people in different situations. And even within your communities, you may be able to identify compassionate people or organizations that can help you on that journey towards rebuilding your life and healing. I know for a fact that Lifeline offers a program called Pieced Together, which is a program that assists people who have gone through trauma in one way or the other to cope with their life situations by getting involved in artwork and talk therapy. And out of that, you will find that you have another family. Family is not always blood. Sometimes the best support we get is from strangers. And when you connect with somebody who is willing to allow you a little wiggle room, who is not very quick to judge and to point fingers and to apportion blame, but rather to work with you and to say, how can I help you to get through today? Sometimes that is all you need. In the last cohort that we had, we've pieced together, there was a young child in her 20s. She came with her mother, and she was wondering, what am I doing among those grown folk? And I'm using that term because that is what she said. And she said she felt so comfortable. She felt loved. She felt accepted. And nobody judged her, regardless of what she disclosed in those sessions. And she said, I have a new family, and I don't even know if I want to associate with people my age, because right now I feel comfortable among grown folk. So you never know where your help is going to come from. So what I want to say is, don't give up. Your future is right there in front of you. If you're brave enough to take that step to get out of that abusive relationship, you can do better for yourself and for your children. There are people out there just waiting to help you. And help may come from places you least expect. Our societies are changing. Yes, the majority may blame you or laugh at you or try to prevent you from forgetting. But there are few kind souls, and there are organizations willing to help you. Take that first step, and I can guarantee you somebody's going to help.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Weeks. And to all the panelists, you made me even more grateful for choosing this platform in this moment. And for those of you, I'm certain you may have resonated with somebody out there who is going through a situation of intimate partner violence. And if in case you missed it, the hotline number is 317-3030, or you could reach out to the Dominica National Council of Women. Right now, I'm going to ask a few questions, which I posed, and then we will ask a few questions from the chat. So my first question is going to go to Ms. Valmond.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
And the question is, how can someone distinguish between normal conflict and abusive behavior? How can someone distinguish between normal conflict and abusive behavior?
Okay, so conflict is a normal way, a natural thing for us. Whenever you're going through life, you will encounter conflicts. And so, for example, let me just give you a practical example. You're out in the morning, who's going to pick up the children at 3 o'clock because I have a meeting? These are normal conflicts that will happen in a relationship. You may find other types. What are you going to prepare for dinner tonight? These are labeled as normal conflicts. When it comes to abusive conflict now is the response. Okay, so if you don't go and collect the child, I can become violent. I will knock you, I will yell at you. You're insulted because you decide not to take a course of action. So the man or the woman might decide, no, I am unable to pick up little Jamie tonight. And this is a natural response if you're unable to. But the reaction that the partner gives is, one, to slap. This is abnormal, an abusive response to conflict.
Thank you for that.
Anyone wants to add something?
What I would say is, you will always have friction. Sometimes you have disagreements with yourself. If you're having an obvious disagreement with yourself and you're walking on the street and quarreling with yourself, people will say you're crazy. But imagine your tongue and your teeth in your mouth, and your teeth bite your tongue off and on. That is normal. You're not going to go to the dentist and remove all of your teeth because that happens. So, for example, you have two people in a house, somebody's passing, somebody steps on somebody's toe. That is normal. However, if it is a question of, I asked you a question, you answer me, and I am not pleased with your tone or the response that I receive, and the next thing you know is that you hear the phone ringing, but there's no phone ringing, but you have actually collected a slap across your face. That is abnormal, because there's no reason for it to escalate from a simple response and then violence. No, that is far from normal.
And to add to that, if you are in conflict with someone, and I mean, like the others mentioned, we have disagreements all the time. We're human beings. We're different. We have different opinions. But if you're looking to cause harm to somebody, for having a difference in opinion, or just sometimes just being yourself. If you're looking to hurt somebody physically, emotionally, and this being something that is also consistent, then this for sure is not normal conflict.
I think the word consistent is misleading. I think whether or not it's consistent or not, it's just abnormal. I think that's one of the main things that we have to recognize, that it doesn't have to happen constantly, over time, regularly. The mere fact that it resulted in violence, be it verbal or physical, it's abnormal.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
And the next question will be posed to Ms. Gage, so you can hand it back to her. How can family members, neighbors, or friends intervene safely without escalating the situation? How can family members, neighbors, or friends intervene safely without escalating the situation?
Okay, first of all, when intervening, do not go and confront the abuser. You go to the victim. You speak to the victim. If there are signs, you maybe pull them aside if they are part of your group, your church group, or your friend group, or whoever that is. Then you go to them and you speak with them, and we have to allow them also to open it. You cannot force that information out of them, but then you will speak with them and let them know that you have observed certain signs, and see if they will open up to you, and try to see if you can provide them with the information that they need. Try to link them to certain resources, and empowering them to get out of that situation. Because sometimes we may feel, let me get my brothers and let me go to the home and attack the abuser. But when you do that, you are creating more conflict, more problems, because now what if that the abuser the abuse go home, and then the abuser find out the abuser, because of what happened, because they were confronted, they then go to attack the individual who is being abused. So sometimes if it is a situation where they need to get out of the home, then you contact certain agencies, or you contact Lifeline Ministries, and to see how we can get them out of the home, and so on. So trying to link them to the services which are needed, and then they will provide the right way to how we can get them out of the situation. Because sometimes we think that we know what to do and that our way will work, but we have to leave it up to the professionals who know how to intervene.
Thank you for that. And many times, community members, they may say, you know what's happening in the home is not my business. Let me just refrain from interfering in that. But there are different ways you can work around it. So thank you for sharing that.
To add also, if let's just say that the abused does not want to come and say that there's any problem, then they report it. It has to be reported, because sometimes the abuse may feel that they do not want to, like mentioned earlier, that they do not want to upset anything in the home, whether it be for financial reasons they want to stay or whatever it is. But then reporting it, then a professional can come in, some investigations can be done, especially when children are involved. So if you speak to the abused and they do not want the help, you still have to try your best to seek help by reporting it.
Thank you.
Just let me just add one thing. Sometimes it's not all about institutions. It could be that you make your own observations, and because of the situation existing in the home, the children are neglected. So the children are hungry. And the children should not be victims in this. So maybe you may not even be speaking to the parents, but if you have food, you could call the children over, give them something to eat, and then let them go home. So even if it works out that they are not given dinner that night, at least they have something in their system. So there are things that at the community level we can do. So it's not always a big thing that an institution has to be involved in. But if you notice that there is any way that you can assist without escalating the conflict, then you do that.
I also believe that one of the ways that you can help without escalating everything is to be a listening ear. Sometimes we have to recognize that women, or victims rather, or the abused, that's the correct term, right, Miss? The abused, it takes them up to 7 times to leave the abusive relationship, up to 7 times. When you know that you need to be a constant at their side. So you need to be there. They will maybe be abused again. You need to remain there as that support to them, because without your support, they're going to be isolated.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Wicks, the next question is posed to you. What advice would you give to someone watching right now who feels trapped in a violent home?
What I would say to you is find a functional phone, your cell phone, somebody else's phone, call 317-3030. Somebody's going to answer you, and you can get some sort of direction as to what are the next steps to take. If perchance you find yourself in a situation where you're in fear for your life, that the abuser may hear you on the phone, you cannot keep a conversation, leave a voice note. Leave a way that you can be contacted and action may be taken on your behalf. So you do not have to suffer in silence. That number again is 317-3030. Don't stay and feel that there is no way out. Call. There is always somebody on the line.
So this is the number for Lifeline, but I also believe that we have 2 departments, I think, on the social services. So Ms. Gage most likely will give the number for social services, and we have a gender bureau, and also Ms. Gage, you will give the number for the bureau as well. So we have gender bureau, which is on the other side, as well as social services. But as Ms. Wicks keeps emphasizing the number for Lifeline Ministries, I want us to recognize and realize one thing, that she said you can call anytime. In the middle of the night, you call. And I think that is what really puts Lifeline Ministries, it really sets them aside, that they are there all through. And I think that is one of the gaps, Ms. Gage, that we would have recognized within our own public service as well, that we may not necessarily have the resources to have this around-the-clock response to our victims or the abused, right?
Okay, so Gender Affairs, no longer the Bureau of Gender Affairs, but Gender Affairs, it's is now under the Department of Social Services. So you can contact the Department of Social Services at 266-3080, or you can also contact us at 266-3019. And there we will link you or send you to the right unit who will deal with the situation. Now, we have Gender Affairs who deal with domestic violence situations, and we also have the Child Protection Unit who also intervenes in matters such as these. So 266-3080, 266-3019.
And of course, we have the counseling department as well, part of. So what we have Bureau of Gender Affairs, and we have Child Protection Unit. We also have the counseling unit. So this is at Social Services. For those of you who are in Tong, it's exactly opposite ACS when you're going up from Jollies. I know that's how Dominicans normally give the directions. When you're going up by Jollies, on your left-hand side, by the Lubia bus stop, by the Wallhouse bus stop, this is exactly where Social Services is. You will see the notice there. Okay.
And also, as I mentioned there, with the signs, there's certain behaviors, aggressive behaviors in the teenagers. So let's say that they were in a domestic violent household, and you may have moved on from there, but those behaviors still persist. Then we at the probation unit, we also try our best to work with those young people who exhibit such behaviors, such risky behaviors, and see how best we can help them, especially when they have been before the court.
And also we have the guidance counselors at the secondary schools. In case you observe any abnormal behaviors in our young people, you refer them to the guidance counselors. In case you realize that there's anything, for example, at our hospital, one of the best things that I have recognized is we have now implemented a red flag initiative where whenever a child is assaulted, this case is immediately flagged and referred to the office of the social worker. So no longer are they going to just go through. No, they are flagged, and I want to really compliment the Winston ward and the neonatal ward, Dr. Laville, Dr. Hamilton. You guys are doing an amazing job in flagging the cases. As soon as we get them, we refer them over to the office, and we then let social services have it. So the pathway to reporting is way clearer, way quicker, and I believe this is one of the positive things coming out out of these discussions and highlights awareness.
Right now, we're going to take at least 2 more questions, but these will be from the viewers themselves. So we have one from Ms. Gage. Are any activities being undertaken to ensure school staff take incidents of intimate partner violence seriously? Are any activities being undertaken to ensure school staff take incidents of IPV, intimate partner violence, seriously?
School staff?
Yes, school staff. That's what the person.
Currently, if you're looking at the Department of Social Services, no, I am not aware of any at the moment, but I believe this is for also the Ministry of Education to, organize such activities. Because yes, with the Department of Social Services, we offer such services, but also with the Ministry of Education, you also have the guidance counselors and social workers who help develop certain activities for the schools and so on.
Okay.
You mean intimate partner violence? Among whom? The staff members or the students?
The students. I think
Okay, okay, Ms. Gage, so you're right. It would have been referred to the guidance counselors and the ministry as well.
Ministry of Education, yes.
But I'm also thinking that part of the curriculum, HFLE, would educate students about this, although I am thinking school children should not be involved in intimate partner violence because they're at school, so they shouldn't be having intimate partners. However, we have to be realistic, and I am thinking that education, so using the human and family life education syllabus correctly and looking at the possibility of the introduction of comprehensive sexuality education so that people are more informed of all of the things happening around them and all of the options available. I think in Dominica, it is time that we stop burying our heads in the sand like ostriches. We have to open our eyes. We have to realize that, as the young people may tell you, latte e klewe, things are not as they used to be when we were children. Our children have a lot of access to all sorts of information, and we cannot pretend that if we don't talk about it, it's not happening. So education leads to empowerment, and it also leads to prevention of having those sorts of situations.
Okay, and you would like to say something, Ms. Salmon?
Just to strengthen what Ms. Wicks said, ongoing education. And I also believe the question reflects exactly what we have been saying, that abused victims create that cycle. So we never know, Ms. Wicks, where these these victims or the abusers came from. It very well could have been from the abusive homes and the toxic environment that we spoke about. So this question brings our point or solidifies our point even more.
Yeah.
And last question be from Mrs. Wicks. Is there an agency or a program that handles men or boys who are exposed to intimate partner violence, violence in the home?
Go ahead.
Is there an agency or a program that handles men or boys who are exposed to intimate partner violence?
As far as I know, the Bureau of Gender Affairs is supposed to deal with everybody. It used to be the Women's Bureau before. The name has been changed so people realize that they're not just dealing with women. So women, boys, girls, it doesn't matter. You also have the Dominica Planned Parenthood Association that deals with privacy, reproductive health. So yes, men and boys who find themselves in those situations can go there as well. There is also the National HIV Unit. People do not want to go there because they think once you go there, you are saying that you are HIV positive. However, this is not all that that agency does. And there is also a men's ministry called CARIMAN, Caribbean Male Action Network, that is also dealing with men's issues as well. As a member of the Dominica Public Service Union, we have a male action committee that deals with men only. So I am thinking in these closed spaces, men and boys can begin to ventilate. But I would also like to sound a call that too often men drop by the wayside because they are waiting for women to organize for them. Women are busy organizing for women, for children, for the elderly. Men organize their sports, their dominoes. I am thinking that it is high time that these clubs where men congregate should also begin looking at having those little side places where men can seek the help that they need, because regardless of what we think, our Caribbean societies cannot function properly if our men are not strong mentally, emotionally, socially, all ali. We need our men so that our Caribbean communities can be strong and productive.
Would you like to add something?
So no one asked me any questions?
No one asked you any questions. No.
Okay, that's good.
Maybe you gave them everything you gave them, and you were so clear that they didn't have any questions to ask.
I agree, and I take that, Miss Weeks. By the way,
Yes.
Whitney said to tell you hello. She said to make sure I tell you that's on live.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Whitney.
So, Miss Weeks, also I want to say that although women are predominantly the abused, this question really reflects the truth that men are also victims of intimate violence.
Yes, and remember, with the way that things are going now, women are sometimes in relationship with other women, and these women abuse the women that they're in relationships to.
Yes.
And men in relationship with men, they are abused by their partners. So that is why it is now referred to as intimate partner
violence.
and it has nothing to do with the gender. It is just that people who are in an intimate relationship sometimes can be abusive towards each other.
Yes. So, Ms. Dana, if we don't have any more questions, I want to ask a question to Ms. Gage, because I think when the flyer was circulated, one of the questions somebody asked me is, okay, so you guys are going to talk about intimate partner violence. When we report cases of intimate partner violence and incidents of child abuse, for example, now what? Because they realize, and one of the things that they are saying, when I say they, I mean the public, is that the welfare organization is not doing as much as they should. And I had to correct them, and I also had to say, and I want to say publicly as well, that sometimes when the cases are referred to social services in terms of child sexual abuse, child physical abuse, for example, social services, their responsibility is to investigate, do the social investigation. They then take this report, they refer it over to the law enforcement do what they have to do, and this is where the responsibility ends for the Department of Social Services, except when there is a case and the social worker has to present any report, etc. So we have the wrong notion that it is welfare not taking stands. So I'm reporting to welfare and they're not doing anything. The truth is welfare cannot go and arrest anybody. Welfare cannot prosecute anyone. And but we recognize that there is that gap, and it might be a hindrance to reporting. So I just wanted to put it out there for transparency reasons, okay?
And that's why creating awareness is very important about what is actually done, the processes, because like you rightly said, especially in cases of sexual abuse, the police have to do their investigations as well. And we do our investigations, and sometimes it may take a little time to conduct those investigations, and and depending on also the number of cases that may come forward. And sometimes the public may be looking in and saying, well, nothing is being done, but they're not aware of the work that is being done. And the thing is, we have to remain confidential in everything that we do. So we're not going to relate to the public that, we have spoken to Tim, John, Harry, Bernadette, we act. We act and we go into the communities. We go to the schools. Wherever we have to go, and we compile reports and we produce these reports. Sometimes the matters go before the court, and sometimes through our investigation, it comes out that that was not a case of abuse. So some people looking in don't may not understand what the processes look like, but a lot of work is being done in the background, but we will not come onto social media and say what we all have already done. We have to maintain confidentiality in everything that we do. But we work very hard at the Department of Social Services.
And let me just add, based on what Maureen said, one of the things people must understand, especially when people want cases to go to court, cases go to court based on evidence. And people need to be educated on what to do if you have a case where you suspect there is sexual abuse. You're taking the child or whoever is the victim to the police station to make a report. You cannot wash away the evidence. The person is not supposed to bathe. Now you say you're going to the police station, so you take a bath and you put on clean clothes. You have already weakened your case. And the other thing too is that you have to understand that those things do not happen overnight. So when you decide you want to go you want to take the case to court, you have to be prepared for the long haul. You have to be prepared that the case may take years before it reaches where you would like it to reach. And so you change your mind midway because things are not happening fast enough. Granted, the wheels of our justice system turn very slowly. But if you know that and you're prepared to assist in preserving evidence, then you can go ahead, but you need to educate yourself on how systems work and always prepare yourself. In any case, you can have different outcomes. Be prepared that things may not necessarily go your way. What is critical is that it is not just the punishment phase, but looking at helping victims to cope with their situations so that they can go from being from victims to survivors and then to become advocates to assist others.
Okay, I would like at this moment, so if you have any questions, you could reach out to these panelists individually, especially Miss Gage. You could reach out to her through the Department of Social Services. And I hope that this conversation, it doesn't just spark this conversation, but a movement where we can actually advocate for meaningful change in our communities. So I intend to partner with everybody here, whether I am successful in attaining the crown or not. So this isn't just a one-time discussion. I look forward to having this discussion with you all in the future. And I would like to, now I'd like to thank Emonews, Dominica Festivals, our panelists here, Ms. Maureen Balmon, Mrs. Delia Coffee Weeks, Ms. Anya Gage, to the viewers, for all those who posed questions. I would like to thank you all. And to the supporters of Emonews, thank you so much for tuning in, and ensure that you come out to Carnival City on the 12th of February 2026 to support the sensational 6 contestants. Until then, I am Daina Graneau and I am signing out. Thank you.
NSC and Danger Entertainment, in association with Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, presents the 5th annual Carnival Wop World at the Factory on Valley Road, starring out of Guadeloupe, 1T1.
Ivea, come inside. Leave me alone. I don't want no children.
1T1.
My money is my best friend. My drink is my best friend.
1T1.
What's up? She said, hey, badness on my left.
On to Kingston, Jamaica, Da Vinci.
That Jamaican with the way, because you know they ain't a match for me.
Da Vinci.
Hi everyone, on behalf of Emonews, I extend a heartfelt thanks to Miss Dominica 2026 contestant, Miss Daina Graneau, for joining us in studio and for leading such a powerful and inspiring discussion on the hidden victims, a commitment to protecting children in violent homes. Your passion, clarity, and courage in advocating for our nation's vulnerable children and women are truly commendable. Thank you for shedding light on the realities faced by so many silent victims and for using your platform to spark meaningful dialogue and action. We also express gratitude to the panelists. You guys did an awesome job, great job. The partners, the viewers who contributed to this important conversation. Together, we continue to build safer homes and stronger communities. Thank you, Daina, for your commitment. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing your mission with us today. I have some token for you all. I have a goodie bag for each one of you, so just want to say thank you all for coming to our studio. I appreciate you. And if you're looking to host your interview, if you're looking to have a panel discussion, feel free to contact Emonews to use our studio at telephone number 767-295-7186. So Miss Graneau, this is for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Maureen. Who do have? Can I finish it? Yes.
Who have, who do have, but who have worked hard for what they have.
That's right. Miss Weeks. And we also have one more. Miss Gage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming, and I wish you all safe journey back to your destination.
Let Instacash help you get the kids ready for school with the DNL Back to School Instacash promotion. For every Instacash ticket purchase, your ticket could say you've won cash, you've won groceries, or you've won school supplies instantly. One lucky customer will win $5,000. Promotion runs from August 8th to the 11th of September 2025. Instacash tickets are available from all lottery agents island-wide. It's fast, it's easy, and you win instantly.
Instacash, let me play.
Let Instacash help you get the kids ready for school with the DNL Back to School Instacash promotion. For every Instacash ticket purchase, your ticket could say